Let's talk about some solutions. What do you see as a way of correcting and stopping some of the issues and challenges that are facing our people today?
As it relates to solutions, there's two. One is proactionary and preventive, and the other is reactionary and based on coming in after the problem has been created to do something about it. Let's start with the proactionary institution. If you look at most of what America uses, at least 50% of the inventions that made this country famous came out of the minds of African Americans and came out of our minds before we was allowed to go to school with white students. I think that we have to rethink our push for school desegregation. I think that we have to go back to building our own schools for our children. We have to look at our definition of education. Up until now, the definition of education for African American youth has been to teach them how to function within the American social order, how to be a part, how to be an employee. That needs to change. My definition of education is the art of teaching children how to acquire, protect, and maintain power. In other words, I am not interested in preparing my child to work for Microsoft. I'm interested in preparing my child to build the corporation that's going to rival Microsoft's dominance in the computer age. So we have to shift from working for people as opposed to dominating the industries. 5 sciences need to be taught to African American children that I don't see being taught by any school in this country, not all at once, be it private, public, parochial, or charter. Number 1 is agricultural science. There is no culture without agriculture. Our children have to be taught how to grow their food, and they must also be taught agronomical science so they can actually test the soil to make sure that the fruits and vegetables that they do grow actually have some nutritional content in them. So that's number 1. You got to be able to sustain life. Our people are dying from all sorts of preventable diseases. Most of our deaths are not natural deaths. They are preventable due to poor diet, poor nutrition. Agricultural science helps to deal with that. The second science that should be taught is nutritional and dietary science. In addition to learning how to grow the food, you have to know when to eat, how to eat, and what to eat. Okay, you go back 75 years ago, there was breakfast, there was lunch, and there's dinner. Now you have African Americans eating all day long, never giving their stomach time to rest. And the research showed that there's a direct relationship between how often you eat and how long you live, even if you do eat healthy. The third science is political and military science. Our children don't just need to be taught history. History is important, but it's not enough. They have to be able to relate it to the present. So history and political science goes together. History, our experience of the past; political science, our experience of today. Why is there a mass incarceration project going on amongst African American males? Why don't public schools work? What's going on with black male-female relationships? And are there some outside influences that's contributing to the destruction of the African American family? We need our children to be politically conscious of what's being done. Why is President Obama president of the United States? And is it necessarily a good thing for African people, not just here, but in Africa as well? Then we also have to teach them economic and financial science, the science of money. African Americans are financially illiterate, even those of us who are well educated, financially illiterate. I want our students to be able to build multinational corporations, to be able to invest in the resources under the ground of our mother continent of Africa and bring them to ground so that they can be used to rebuild our race internationally. Military science, so they can understand military strategy. The black community globally and locally is at war. There's war against black men. There's war against black people. You see it every day with the abuse that we suffer from the police. We just had a situation in California with a former officer Dorner, who actually wrote a letter, detailing the racism that he experienced on the police force in LA. Our children need to be taught these things. They also need to be taught spiritual science so they can understand their connection to the divine. We are a divine people. And so astrological science and the teaching of ancient African spiritual systems above and beyond Islam and Christianity, I think is going to be key towards our resurgence in the modern world. And the last science is the science of the black family, the science of the black man and the black woman. The black man has forgotten how to respect his queen, and the black woman has forgotten how to respect her king. She has to be taught the black man as a science, and the black man has to be taught the black woman as a science. Those 6 sciences are going to serve as the cornerstone for a global African revolution and renaissance, and they're not being taught right now. So the preventive solution is to build our own schools. It is not realistic to expect middle-class white women to properly educate black boys. It is never going to happen.